People like you always try to steal from first class. The boarding pass torn in half, right through the Pentagon seal. Rebecca Whitmore, Delta's senior flight attendant, dropped both pieces at the black woman's feet. Now, pick up your trash. 3 million people watched live. TikTok influencer Destiny Johnson had perfect timing, her camera catching Colonel Jasmine Hayes, decorated war veteran, forced to her knees at Gate A-47. Hayes's teenage daughter Maya stood frozen, filming her mother's humiliation. "Mom, don't," Maya whispered. Hayes picked up the torn pieces. Her Purple Heart medal shifted under her blazer. Hidden, like the 17 missed calls from Secretary of Defense on her silenced phone. Whitmore stepped closer. "Security's coming. Hope you brought bail money. Boarding in 10 minutes. Ever seen someone ruin their entire bloodline in 5 minutes? Watch carefully. This is how black stories become legendary." Glass shattered. Hayes's prescription bottle hit the marble floor, pills scattering like tiny grenades. Whitmore's heel came down, grinding Xanax into powder. "Oops." Whitmore's smile could freeze hell. "Looks like someone won't be self-medicating on my flight." 2:51 p.m. Terminal A-47, Dallas-Fort Worth International. The epicenter of what would become aviation's most expensive 5 minutes. Hayes's left hand trembled. Just once. A micro tremor her daughter caught on camera. The same hand that had pulled 3 soldiers from a burning Humvee in Kandahar. The scar tissue between her fingers, usually hidden, caught the fluorescent light. "Mom's medication." Maya stepped forward. Hayes caught her daughter's wrist, gentle but firm. The touch said, "Not yet." Rebecca Whitmore, 20-year Delta veteran, noticed the tremor. Shark-smelling blood. Her own hands steady despite the fresh divorce papers in her purse, despite her ex-husband Marcus, a black professor, leaving her for his 26-year-old graduate student, despite losing custody of her children yesterday. "Brad, she's having withdrawals. Look at her, shaking." Whitmore performed for the cameras now. Classic drug-seeking behavior. I've seen it hundreds of times. Brad Chen arrived sweating. Airport operations manager. The Rolex on his wrist, $47,000, impossible on his salary. His mistress had expensive tastes. His wife's divorce lawyer had questions. He needed this day to be normal. Boring. Forgettable. What's the situation? Chen's eyes counted cameras. 17 phones recording. 3 professional cameras. Destiny Johnson's ring light like a spotlight. This woman, Whitmore gestured like Hayes was contaminated, presented fraudulent military documents. She's claimed to be a Pentagon colonel. She's carrying controlled substances. She's exhibiting signs of intoxication. Hayes pulled out her phone. Declined call 18 from SecDef. Typed 6 words. Prometheus active. Release the files. Wait. "Ma'am, your identification." Chen didn't look at Hayes. Looked past her. Through her. 30 years of practice making problems disappear. Hayes handed him the torn boarding pass. "Your employee destroyed my primary ID. My Pentagon identification is—" "Anyone can print Pentagon IDs online," Whitmore interrupted. She'd Googled fake military ID last week. For research, for moments like this. "Brad, look at her. Designer suit, but taking Xanax? That's drug dealer profile 101. The crowd split like a cell dividing. Some passengers nodded. Whitmore made sense. Others filmed harder injustice crystallizing in real time. That's Colonel Hayes! James Park's wheelchair squeaked forward. Operation Carthage Commander. She saved 18... Sir, veterans with PTSD often have delusions, Whitmore said sweetly, poisonously. They identify with famous military figures. It's quite sad. Park's face went purple. You little Mr. Park. Hayes's voice cut through. Calm, controlled, but something underneath. Something Whitmore missed, but Chen caught. Thank you, but I've got this. Boarding in 7 minutes, TSA arrived. 4 agents. Not regular screening, the behavioral detection officers, the ones who profile, who escalate, who make headlines. Ma'am, we've received reports of suspicious behavior, Agent Thompson announced. 6'3". Former Marine. Recognized Hayes immediately, but stayed silent. Orders were orders. Drug possession, Whitmore added quickly. Mental instability. Fraudulent documents. And she whispered a threat to me. Hayes stood perfectly still. What threat did I whisper? You said... Whitmore paused, calculated. You said you'd make me pay. That your people would come for me. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Destiny's viewer count hit 6.8 million. Comments exploded. She lying! Arrest her! This is America. Chen saw an exit. That's terroristic threatening. We need full screening, chemical detection, behavioral assessment, federal hold. Mom, tell them who you are, Maya begged. Hayes looked at her daughter, at Park, at the crowd, at Whitmore, whose wedding ring tan line seemed to pulse with fresh pain, at Chen, whose burner phone kept buzzing with texts from someone saved as Cookie. I'm exactly who my documents say I am, Hayes said simply. The question is, are you who you pretend to be, Rebecca? Whitmore flinched. What? Your husband, Marcus, called me yesterday. Hayes shouldn't know this, couldn't know this, but she did. He's worried about you. Said you've been spiraling since the custody hearing, since you lost the kids. The crowd went silent. Destiny zoomed in. Chen stepped back. How do you... Whitmore's mask cracked. Brad? Hayes turned to Chen. That Rolex. Gift from Councilman Morrison's construction company? The same company that got the Terminal B contract without bidding. Chen's face drained. I don't know what you're... Enhanced screening, now! Whitmore shrieked, desperate to regain control. She's accessing private information. She's a security threat. She's... Hayes knelt, started picking up the crushed pills, one by one. The photo would go viral. A black woman in a $4,000 suit, kneeling on a dirty airport floor, gathering her destroyed medication while a white woman stood over her, heel still grinding powder into marble. These touching stories, Hayes said softly, but every phone caught it. These real-life stories always end the same way. With you people arrested? Whitmore spat. No. Hayes stood, crushed pills in her palm. With the truth. Boarding in 5 minutes. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, smiled, just slightly. The trap wasn't set. It was already sprung. They just didn't know it yet. 2:56 p.m. The chemical detection wand screamed. Not the usual beep. A sustained shriek that made everyone freeze. Agent Thompson stared at the display. His face changed. Confusion, recognition, then something close to fear. Ma'am, have you handled firearms recently? No, Hayes replied. Whitmore pounced. She's lying. That's gunpowder residue. Thompson turned the display. It's not gunpowder, it's RDX, military-grade explosive compound. He looked at Hayes differently now. The kind used in C4. Only 3 places you'd encounter this: a war zone, a demolition site, or a Pentagon briefing on domestic terrorism, Hayes finished, where I handled evidence 4 hours ago. Thompson's eyes widened. Pentagon briefings were classified. If she knew about RDX evidence, she was either legitimate or part of something massive. Convenient story, Whitmore sneered, but her voice wavered. The specificity bothered her. Chen's personal phone buzzed. A text from his wife. Channel 8 News. Now, he glanced at the airport monitors. They'd switched from flight information to breaking news. Viral video. Delta employee detains military officer. His stomach dropped. Corporate would see this. His Morrison deal. The kickbacks. Everything could unravel. We need to move this to private screening, Chen said quickly. Away from cameras. No. Hayes's single word carried weight. Everything stays public, every second recorded. Maya kept filming. Her hands steady now. She'd inherited her mother's composure. 8.9 million watching Mom. That's when the crowd dynamics shifted. A businessman in Armani spoke up. This is ridiculous. Just let her board. But a woman in MAGA red countered, if she's really military, where's her uniform? Since when do colonels fly commercial? Another voice added. The crowd split into factions. Arguments erupted. Someone pushed. Someone pushed back. Enough! Thompson's Marine voice boomed. Everyone stopped. Ma'am, he said to Hayes, I need to verify your identity. May I make a call? Please do. Thompson dialed a number from memory. Pentagon Security. Direct line. This is Agent Thompson, TSA Dallas, former Marine Corps, service number 2847291. I need identity verification for a Colonel Jasmine Hayes. He listened. His expression shifted with each word. Slowly, he lowered the phone. Colonel Hayes is cleared. Highest level. Whitmore exploded. You're part of it. They paid you. That's when Private Jackson stepped forward again. Ma'am, respectfully, shut up. He held up his phone. I just Googled her. Colonel Hayes, Silver Star, Bronze Star with Valor, Purple Heart. Shot 3 times saving a convoy in Kandahar. Her husband died in the same attack. The crowd went quiet. Even Whitmore's supporters looked uncomfortable. That's, Whitmore scrambled. Anyone can create a Wikipedia page. It's from the DoD official site, Jackson continued. He showed his phone around. The mill address was undeniable. Chen saw his exit evaporating. His retirement. His freedom. Morrison's construction company had used substandard materials in Terminal B. If investigators started looking, he made a decision. A desperate one. Ms. Whitmore, I think we should... Brad, a new voice. Sharp. Commanding. Everyone turned. A woman in a Delta executive suit walked through the crowd. Veronica Marshall, Vice President of Customer Relations. She'd been on a flight from Atlanta. Landed 10 minutes ago. Saw the live stream in the Delta Lounge. Miss Marshall? Whitmore brightened. Thank God. This woman... Rebecca, stop talking. Marshall's voice could freeze fire. Legal is on the phone. The Department of Defense is on the phone. The Department of Justice is on the phone. She paused. Your ex-husband is on the phone. Whitmore went pale. Marcus called? He's been calling for 3 days. warning us about your behavior, the racial slurs during your divorce, the custody battle you lost because of documented discrimination against your own mixed-race children. The crowd gasped. Destiny zoomed in on Whitmore's face, the mask finally cracking completely. That's private. Sealed records. Not anymore, Marshall said. Your ex just unsealed them. He's watching the live stream. He's filing for emergency full custody based on this incident. Whitmore's legs wobbled. She grabbed the counter for support. Boarding in 3 minutes. Hayes finally moved, not toward Whitmore, toward Chen. She spoke quietly, but every phone picked it up. Mr. Chen, Terminal B, Morrison Construction. Substandard steel in the support beams. You signed off knowing it wouldn't pass federal inspection. Chen's face went from white to green. How could you possibly? The same way I know about your mistress in apartment 2847. Maple Street. The one Morrison pays for. The one whose lease is why you needed that Rolex money. Stop, Chen whispered. Please, I will. If you tell the truth, right now, on camera. Chen looked at the phones, at Destiny's 11.3 million viewers, at his career ending in real time. He swallowed. I took bribes from Morrison Construction to approve contracts without proper bidding. The crowd exploded. Airport security moved in, not toward Hayes, but toward Chen. Whitmore tried to run, actually turned and ran, made it 4 steps before her heel caught. She went down hard. Her skirt tore. Her perfectly styled hair fell apart. When she looked up, Hayes was standing over her, not gloating, not smiling, just child. Rebecca, you're drowning. Have been since Marcus left. Since you lost your children, this anger, this hatred, it's not really about me. Don't you dare! Your father was in the Klan. Hayes said it so quietly, only nearby phones caught it. You grew up hearing these things, believing them. Then you fell in love with a black man, had mixed children. The cognitive dissonance broke you. Whitmore started crying, ugly crying, snot and mascara and 20 years of confusion pouring out. I didn't mean, I loved him. But you called him the N-word when he asked for a divorce. I was angry. I was hurt. You were honest. For the first time in your marriage, you were honest about what you really thought. Final boarding call. Marshall approached Hayes. Colonel, on behalf of Delta Airlines, I apologize. Unreservedly. What can we do? Hayes looked at her daughter, at the crowd, at the millions watching online, at Whitmore broken on the floor, at Chen in handcuffs. Change, Hayes said simply. Real change. Not press releases, not diversity training. Actual systemic change. What do you have in mind? Hayes smiled for the first time. It wasn't kind. It wasn't cruel. It was something else entirely. I'm glad you asked. You see, I'm not just a colonel. I'm also your newest board member. 15% shareholder as of... She checked her phone. 9 minutes ago. Marshall's tablet pinged. She looked at it. Her face went white. You just bought Harold Morrison's shares. All of them, plus Chen's pension fund investments, plus several other interesting portfolios. Hayes helped Whitmore to her feet, surprisingly gentle. These real-life stories, these touching stories that show who we really are, they're also opportunities. Opportunities for what? Hayes looked directly into Destiny's camera, into 14.7 million watching eyes. For revolution. 3:01 p.m. The smartphone screen cracked against marble. Rebecca Whitmore had thrown her phone at Hayes. Missed. It shattered beside Maya's feet, still recording everything. "You set me up!" Whitmore's voice raw, animal. "You knew I knew nothing." Hayes picked up the broken phone. The live stream still running. 19.2 million watching. "I'm just a passenger trying to get to D.C. But you? You've done this before." She pulled out her own phone, opened a video. The airport speakers crackled. Hayes had connected to the PA system. How? Her Pentagon credentials included emergency broadcast access. Every screen in Terminal A showed the same footage. Whitmore, 3 months ago, forcing an elderly black woman to her knees. The woman crying, begging. Whitmore laughing. Then another video. Whitmore planting something in a Latino man's bag, security arresting him, his children screaming. Another, Whitmore telling a young black mother her baby was too loud for first class. The woman was deaf. The baby was signing. 47 videos. Rapid fire. Each one worse. The crowd exploded. Some threw bottles at Whitmore. Security formed a protective circle, not around her, but around Hayes and Maya. "Those are deep fakes!" Whitmore screamed, but her voice broke. She knew they weren't. Marshall, the Delta VP, stood frozen. Her tablet showed the board members, all watching the same feed, all seeing their liability multiply with each video. "Colonel Hayes," Marshall's voice barely audible, "where did you get these?" "Your flight attendants have been recording her for months, sending them to me. Well, not to me directly, to a website called flyingwhilebrown.com. Everyone Googled it simultaneously. The site loaded thousands of complaints, videos, audio recordings. Delta, United, American, Southwest. Every airline, every day. Discrimination documented. I don't run the site," Hayes continued. "It runs itself. Crowdsourced accountability. But I do analyze the data. And Rebecca Whitmore has the highest complaint rate in commercial aviation history." Chen, still handcuffed, laughed bitterly. 47 complaints? Try 400. I buried most of them." Marshall's tablet exploded with messages. Board members panicking. Stock price falling. Down 18% now. "You want to know the real twist?" Hayes addressed the cameras directly. "I'm not special. Not a major shareholder. Not a spy. Not your savior. I'm exactly what my ID says, a colonel heading to a Pentagon meeting. But I am something else." She paused. Let them lean in. "I'm a mother who's tired of explaining to her daughter why this keeps happening." Maya stepped forward, finally breaking. "Mom, just tell them. Tell them about the diagnosis. Tell them why we were really flying today." The crowd quieted. Even Whitmore stopped screaming. Hayes closed her eyes, opened them. "I have a brain tumor. Inoperable. Terminal. 6 months, if I'm lucky. Today's flight? It's to Walter Reed. Experimental treatment. 10% survival rate." Gasps rippled through the terminal. But Whitmore didn't know that. Chen didn't know that. They just saw my skin and made assumptions. She looked at Whitmore. "You almost made my daughter's last memory of me be watching her mother humiliated for being black." Whitmore collapsed. Actually collapsed. Her body just gave up. "But here's what you really didn't know, Rebecca. Your ex-husband, Marcus? He's my neurologist. The best in the country. And despite everything you did to him, everything you called him, he asked me to help you." "What?" "He said you're sick too. Different kind of tumor. Growing in your soul. Fed by your father's hatred. your mother's silence, your own confusion. He said underneath all that poison was the woman who used to read Maya Angelou to your mixed daughters, who cried when Obama was elected, who loved him before fear made you hate what you loved. Whitmore sobbed, snot and tears, and 20 years of self-hatred pouring out. The cocaine in your bag? Your boyfriend Kevin didn't put it there. You did. 3 weeks ago, a cry for help, hoping to get caught, hoping to stop. How could you possibly? Because Marcus knows you. Still, despite everything. Hayes knelt beside Whitmore, 2 women on the floor of Terminal A, one black, one white, both broken in different ways. He's waiting outside, has been for an hour, watching the live stream, hoping you'd finally hit bottom so you could start climbing up. The automatic doors opened. Dr. Marcus Whitmore walked in, tall, dignified, wearing the same wedding ring he'd never removed. "Becca," he said simply. "I called you the N-word," she whispered, "in front of our babies. I know. I destroyed us. I know. Why are you here? Because hate taught is different from hate chosen. And you were taught before you could choose." He helped her stand. "Our daughters are in the car. They want their mother back, not this version, the one I fell in love with, the one who's still in there." Chen watched this, then made his own confession. "I took bribes, but not for money. Morrison has my son, not kidnapped, hired, 6-figure job, apartment, life, but contingent on my cooperation. Every Asian kid who didn't get promoted, every black passenger pushed to economy, I did it to keep my son employed." "Your son works for Morrison Construction," Hayes asked. "Financial division. He doesn't know it's dirty. Thinks he earned it. MIT graduate. My pride." Chen's tears came now. "I sold my soul for his American dream." Marshall's tablet rang. Board emergency session. But not about Hayes. "Ms. Marshall," the board chair spoke. "We've just received notice. The Department of Justice is launching an investigation, not just into Delta, into commercial aviation's systemic discrimination practices." "Colonel Hayes?" "Yes? You're not heading to Walter Reed, are you?" Hayes smiled sadly. "I am. The tumor's real. The 6 months are real. But the treatment, that's scheduled for next week. Today? Today I was supposed to testify before Congress. Closed session. About exactly this." She pulled up her phone, showed the real message thread with SecDef. Prometheus, Phase 1, complete. Aviation sector documented. Moving to Phase 2. Banking sector next. 6 months to expose it all. "You're using your dying months to—" Marshall couldn't finish. "To make sure Maya doesn't inherit the same America that killed her father. Not in Afghanistan, he made it home. But the VA hospital that turned him away 3 times because they didn't believe a black man's pain was real. By the time they listened, the infection had spread. Treatable became terminal." She stood, helped Whitmore to her feet. "Every system's broken the same way. Bias becomes policy. Policy becomes profit. Profit becomes protection. Protection becomes propaganda. That bias doesn't exist." "But you can't fix it all," Marshall said. "Not in 6 months. No, but I can light enough fires that they can't all be put out." She looked at the cameras, at 24 million people watching. That's what Prometheus really means. Stealing fire from the gods and giving it to the people. Her phone buzzed. The real president this time. She showed the screen to the camera. "Tell him Phase 2 begins tomorrow," she told Maya. Maya typed back, "Mom's busy changing the world. She'll call you back." The crowd laughed, tension breaking. Even Whitmore almost smiled. Marcus led his ex-wife toward the exit, stopped, turned back. "Colonel Hayes, thank you for seeing the human under the hatred. Dr. Whitmore, thank you for believing in redemption when you had every right to revenge." They left. Chen was led away, already negotiating his plea deal. Morrison's arrest played on every screen, his empire crumbling in real time. But Marshall stood there, tablet in hand, confusion on her face. "Colonel, the board wants to know what happens now?" Hayes looked at her daughter, at Destiny still streaming, at Thompson standing at attention, at the hundreds of passengers who'd witnessed history. Now we board a different flight, Maya and I, to D.C., to testify, to pull back the curtain on every industry that profits from prejudice. And then I die. But not quietly, not conveniently, not before I teach my daughter and yours how to fight systems, not symptoms. She walked toward the Delta counter, bought 2 new tickets, first class. No one stopped her. As they headed to the new gate, Maya asked, "Mom, were you scared?" "Terrified, but you didn't show it." "Baby, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's feeling everything and standing anyway." Behind them, Terminal A47 remained frozen, everyone processing what they'd witnessed. These life stories, these black stories that become touching stories, they change people. One witness at a time, one video at a time, one revelation at a time. Whitmore's daughters ran to her in the parking lot, hugged her despite everything, chose love over learned hatred. Chen's son was arrested an hour later. The father's confession saved the son from worse. Morrison's network unraveled over the following days. But Hayes was already planning Phase 2. 6 months to live. 6 industries to expose. 6 chances to make Maya's world better than Jasmine's. The revolution wouldn't be televised. It would be live-streamed. 3:18 p.m. "We're not having this conversation." David Sterling, Delta's chief legal counsel, stood blocking the boardroom door. "Patricia, as your attorney, I'm advising no, instructing everyone to stop talking immediately." But board chair Patricia Huang was already inside, 12 members with her. Not for Hayes to contain the hemorrhaging stock price. "David, we're down 28%, Huang said. "That's $16 billion in market value, which will recover once this blows over." "It's not blowing over." Jennifer Morse, the board's only black woman, held up her tablet. 43 million people watched Colonel Hayes humiliated. #boycott Delta is trending. Corporate accounts are canceling. Microsoft just suspended all Delta bookings. Hayes sat quietly in the corner. Not invited. Just there. Maya beside her, no longer recording Destiny Johnson, had that covered from the hallway. "She shouldn't be here," Sterling pointed at Hayes. "She owns 15% of our shares as of—" Huang checked her phone. "Wait, that's not possible." Hayes smiled slightly. "I don't own any shares." That was a bluff. Everyone froze. "You lied?" Sterling's eyes lit up. "On live stream? That's securities fraud. I said I was your newest board member. I am. Jennifer Morse just appointed me as her advisory representative. Completely legal under Bylaw 47C. Morse nodded. "Signed the papers 10 minutes ago." "You planned this together?" Huang accused. We've never met before today, Morse replied. But when I saw a black woman being brutalized while our stock tanked, I made a decision. Use the system to fix the system. CFO Richard Banks slammed his laptop shut. This is insane. We need damage control, not revolution. You need both, Hayes said quietly. Damage control without reform just delays the next crisis. And the next one will be worse. How could it be worse? Banks demanded. Hayes pulled out her phone. Should I release the other videos? What other videos? Whitmore's just the visible infection, the fever. But the disease? She turned to Sterling. David, want to tell them about the Hernandez case? Sterling's face went white. 2 years ago, Maria Hernandez, pregnant, forced to stand for 3 hours in the aisle because a first-class passenger didn't feel comfortable with a Latina sitting nearby. She miscarried. You paid $8 million to bury it. That's privileged. Not anymore. Her NDA was voided when you failed to report the incident to federal authorities. Aviation Safety Reporting System requires it for medical emergencies. Sterling looked at Huang. We need to end this meeting. No, Huang said slowly. We need to end this culture. Patricia. I'm 73 years old, David. Former transportation secretary. I've served on 12 boards, and I'm exhausted from defending discrimination disguised as business. Banks's phone rang. It's Goldman Sachs, our biggest institutional investor. He listened. His face crumbled. They're considering divesting if we don't announce reforms within the hour. 1 hour? Wu protested. That's impossible. Southwest just did it, Morse interrupted, showing her screen. Full transparency protocols. Their stock's recovering. Because they're not in crisis, Sterling argued. Because they're choosing to lead instead of being forced to follow, Hayes corrected. She stood, walked to the window. You have 2 choices. Reform voluntarily and control the narrative. Or resist and let the narrative control you. What exactly are you proposing? Huang asked. Hayes turned back. 3 things. 1. Every customer interaction recorded and AI analyzed for bias. Not punitive, preventative. Pattern recognition to intervene before discrimination occurs. Privacy lawsuits, Sterling started. Already legal. You record for security. This is emotional security. 2, Hayes continued. Monthly public reports on discrimination complaints. Full transparency. No more buried settlements. That's corporate suicide, Banks protested. That's corporate accountability. Companies report safety statistics. Why not dignity statistics? And 3, Huang asked. Rebecca Whitmore designs the system. The room exploded. She's a racist, multiple voices. She's a racist who knows she's racist, Hayes clarified. That's rarer and more valuable than you think. She knows every excuse, every blind spot, every rationalization. You want a system that works? You need someone who knows how it breaks. The door opened, not dramatically, quietly. Whitmore entered, but not alone. Her ex-husband, Marcus, her 2 daughters, her son. We're here as a family, Marcus said, to show that transformation is possible. Whitmore's eldest daughter, Zara, 16, mixed race, spoke. My mom called my dad the N-word. In front of me. I testified against her in court. I hated her. Everyone held their breath. But hate taught can be untaught. My mom was raised by the Klan, literally. Her father had the hood in the closet. She never had a chance to choose different until she chose my dad. And when stress broke her, the old programming came back. That's not an excuse, Whitmore said quickly. No, Zara agreed. But it's an explanation. And explanations can become education. Sterling stood. This is emotional manipulation. This is a $40 billion company being run like a 1950s country club, Jennifer Morse interrupted. And it ends today. You don't have the votes, Sterling said confidently. Actually, we do. Huang pulled up her tablet. I've been texting with remote members. The vote is 11-7 for reform. You can't vote without proper notice. Emergency provisions. Imminent threat to company value. Section 12 of the corporate charter you wrote, David. Sterling's phone rang. He looked at it. It's the Justice Department. Don't answer, Hayes suggested. Not yet. First, vote. This is extortion, Sterling said. This is leverage. There's a difference. Huang stood. Motion to implement comprehensive anti-discrimination protocols as outlined by Colonel Hayes. All in favor? 11 hands raised, not enthusiastically, but decisively. Motion carries. Sterling packed his briefcase. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret, Huang replied, is not doing it sooner. As Sterling left, Banks asked, how do we even announce this? The optics. Tell the truth, Hayes suggested. Novel concept. Say you discovered systemic problems and you're fixing them. Take responsibility. Show humanity. Watch what happens. Our stock will crater. Your stock's already cratering. But honesty? Accountability? That's so rare in corporate America, it might actually shock people into buying. Whitmore stepped forward. I'll go on camera. Explain my role. Take questions. No script. No lawyers. Just truth. That's insane, Banks said. That's courage, Marcus corrected. Something Rebecca's teaching me about. Hayes's phone buzzed. She looked at it. Her face changed, not triumph, but sadness. What? Maya asked. The hospital. They've moved up my treatment. The tumor's growing faster than expected. The room went quiet. Even Banks looked human for a moment. How long? Huang asked softly. 3 months, maybe 4. Then we'd better move fast, Morse said. I motion to appoint Colonel Hayes as special advisor for transformation. 3-month contract, whatever salary she wants. $1, Hayes said, but full authority to implement changes. All in favor? Unanimous. Even the 7 who'd voted against reform raised their hands. Wha? Hayes asked them. Board member Thomas Chen, no relation to Brad, answered, because you're dying for this. Literally. Hard to argue with that commitment. Hayes looked at Whitmore. Ready to destroy what you helped build? Ready to build something worth saving? They shook hands. Black and white. Victim and perpetrator. Now, partners. Outside, Destiny's live stream showed the title, Delta Board Votes for Revolution. 53 million watching. The stock stopped falling. Started climbing. Not because of PR spin or damage control, because, for once, a corporation chose confession over cover-up. These real-life stories, these touching stories, they're not about perfection. They're about the possibility of change, even when it comes too late, even when you only have 3 months to see it through. 3:47 p.m. No press conference. No podium. Just Whitmore sitting on the terminal floor, where she'd humiliated Hayes, talking to anyone who'd listen. I can't undo what I did, she said to the phone surrounding her. But I can undo what I am. 40 people stood watching. Not millions, The live stream had moved on to other scandals, but these 40 would remember. Starting tomorrow, I document every trick I know, every bias I've hidden, every excuse I've made. She pulled out a notebook paper, not digital, handwritten, photocopied, public. No lawyers editing my confession. An older white man in the crowd shouted, "You did nothing wrong!" She played the race card. Whitmore stood, faced him. "Sir, what's your name?" "Jim Patterson." "Jim, I destroyed 47 people's dignity. Documented, recorded, proven. That's not a race card. That's a racist deck I've been dealing for 20 years. But they're taking our country. Jim." Her voice broke. "They're not. They're. My children are mixed. My ex-husband is black. The they you're afraid of? They're my family. And I lost them because I thought like you." Patterson left, muttering. But 3 others stayed, listening. Meanwhile, Hayes was in the Delta Lounge, not collapsed, but exhausted. Maya brought her water. Her phone showed 17 missed calls from the Pentagon. "You have to call them back," Maya said. "No. I resigned. Effective 10 minutes ago." "What?" "Can't serve 2 masters, can't change systems while protecting them." She sent one final email to SecDef. "Prometheus complete. Civilian now. Don't contact again." Jennifer Morse entered. "The board's in chaos. Sterling's threatening to sue. Banks is calling shareholders, trying to reverse the vote." "Good. Good? Real change requires real resistance. If everyone agrees, nothing actually changes." Hayes stood slowly. "Where's the opposition meeting?" "Conference room B, but you can't." Hayes was already walking. Inside conference room B, David Sterling had assembled the resistance. 7 board members, 12 senior executives, 3 external lawyers. "Hostile takeover disguised as social justice," Sterling was saying. "We file injunctions, claim coercion." "David." Hayes entered uninvited. "File your injunctions. Fight every change, please." "You want us to fight?" "Desperately, because every legal filing becomes public record. Every argument against reform becomes evidence for why reform is needed. You're about to document your own discrimination in court documents." Sterling's face went red. "That's entrapment. That's transparency. You can fight reform publicly or accept it privately. Choose." One executive, Janet Rodriguez, surprised everyone. "I'm out." "Sterling, I'm done defending this. My daughter flies weekly. She's Latina. Do you know what she faces? Janet, don't be emotional." "Emotional?" Rodriguez laughed. "I've been numb for 10 years. Today I felt something. Shame. Deep, necessary shame." She left. 2 others followed. Sterling turned to the remainder. "We hold the line. Hayes has 3 months to live. We can wait her out." "Actually," Hayes said, "I've structured everything to survive me. Morse has full authority. Whitmore's contract is irrevocable for 2 years. The federal oversight is locked for 5. You can wait for me to die, but the changes will outlive us all." Back in the terminal, Brad Chen was being processed by federal agents. A reporter caught him. "Mr. Chen, any final words?" "Yes, to my son, David. The job at Morrison Construction? You didn't earn it. I bought it with other people's dignity. Your MIT degree is real. Your talent is real. But your success? Built on my corruption. I'm sorry." David Chen, watching from his apartment, would resign that day. Start over. Eventually, build an honest career. At 4:15 p.m., Delta's stock stabilized. Not rising, not falling. The market unsure whether honesty was profitable or destructive. Southwest announced matching reforms. United followed. American held out. Whitmore's ex-husband Marcus set up a folding table in the terminal, put up a handwritten sign. Free bias counseling. No judgment, just help. 17 people sat down over the next hour. Airport workers, passengers. Even Jim Patterson came back, sat quietly, listened. Hayes and Maya finally headed to their gate, the 5:30 p.m. flight to D.C. 2 hours later than planned. As they walked, passengers recognized them. Some applauded. Others looked away. A few muttered disapproval. "Mom," Maya asked, "was it worth it? All this pain for small changes?" Hayes stopped at the window, watched planes taking off, each carrying hundreds of souls, hundreds of potential conflicts, hundreds of chances to choose better. "Baby, revolution isn't explosion, it's erosion. Each small change wearing away at the mountain of hate. We knocked a few pebbles loose today. Others will continue the avalanche." Behind them, Whitmore stood where it started, where she'd torn Hayes's boarding pass. She was picking up the pieces, literally, keeping them as reminder of what she'd been. Tomorrow, she'd begin documenting 20 years of discrimination techniques. Next week, she'd face her first reformed hiring panel. Next month, she'd testify before Congress. But today, she just stood there, broken, beginning real. These life stories, these touching stories born from pain, they don't end with victories. They end with choices. The choice to be better than yesterday, even when yesterday is unforgivable. 1 year later, Rebecca Whitmore stood at Gate A47. Same spot. Same time, 2:47 p.m. Anniversary of her destruction. But today was different. "Miss Whitmore?" A young black woman approached, nervous. "You probably don't remember me." "Keisha Williams. You had me arrested 2 years ago. Said my first-class ticket was fake." Whitmore's hands trembled. "I remember. I'm CEO of a tech company. Was flying to close a $50 million deal. Missed it because of you." "I'm sorry. Doesn't cover. I'm not here for apologies." Keisha pulled out her phone, showed a photo. "This is my daughter. Born 6 months ago. I named her Jasmine, after Colonel Hayes." Both women stood silent, the weight of what could have been. "I hired your son," Keisha continued. "What?" "David Chen, Brad's son. Brilliant programmer. Terrible resume gap after Morrison Construction. Nobody would touch him. I gave him a chance." "Why?" "Because Colonel Hayes taught me something. Destroying the children of our enemies just creates more enemies. Breaking cycles requires breaking patterns." Whitmore started crying, not performative tears, the kind that come from your bones. "I've caught 1,847 discrimination attempts this year," Whitmore whispered. "Each one could have been another you. Another missed moment. Another life derailed." "How many did you cause before?" "Documented? 47. Actual? Probably hundreds. Then you have hundreds more to prevent." They shook hands. Forgiveness not given, but forgiveness not needed. Just two humans choosing forward over backward. Meanwhile, in D.C., Maya Hayes stood before the Supreme Court. 22 years old. Youngest lawyer ever to argue discrimination case. Her mother's final gift-accelerated law degree paid by Hayes's military death benefits. "Your Honors, Discrimination costs America $93 billion annually. Not in settlements, in lost potential, in dreams deferred, in brilliance buried. She won 7-2. The arrest that changed everything. Remember the title? 5 minutes later. Family arrested? It happened. Just not how you expected. 247 arrests over 6 months. The family of discrimination. The DNA of systemic racism mapped and dismantled. Whitmore's father, though dead, had his estate seized under RICO. Klan membership proved. Assets redistributed to victims' fund. Even Brad Chen's extended family, 3 cousins, involved in Morrison's scheme faced justice. The trap Hayes set caught not individuals, but entire ecosystems of hate. Today, Delta leads aviation in satisfaction among Black passengers. Whitmore's trained 4,000 employees across industries flying. While Dignified.org has prevented 10,000 incidents, Maya's preparing Hayes's biography, 5 Minutes to Revolution. Marcus and Rebecca co-teach at the Institute, divorced, but united in purpose. But here's the real ending. Last week, a white flight attendant in training stopped mid-discrimination, caught herself, remembered Whitmore's warning. The moment you think, those people, you've already lost. She served everyone equally that day. Nobody noticed. That's the point. Justice shouldn't be remarkable. Your story matters. Right now, someone's facing discrimination. Right now, someone's staying silent. Right now, someone's choosing between comfort and courage. What's your story? Comment below. Not for likes, for change. Share this. Not for viral fame, for vital transformation. Subscribe. Not to follow, to lead. Because these Black stories, these real-life stories, these touching stories that break hearts and systems, they only matter if they create more stories. Your story. Starting now. Starting with your next choice. The revolution Colonel Hayes died for isn't over. It's waiting for you to continue it. 5 minutes from now, what will you do differently? That's the only question that matters.